tonight. It's going to be remote. I said yes. And let's wait one more minute while we compare notes about the snow or something. Did you guys have to do some extra work over the last couple of days like you did last night?
Yeah. Yeah, I pulled my first all-nighter in a decade. So
What did they make you do? You
Was
still
it
got it?
last night?
no, it was
Last week?
it was Sunday. No, wait. Sorry, today's
No,
Wednesday. So that means that I was Monday night into Tuesday. Yeah.
So what were you what were you doing? Like, what did it entail, the all-nighter?
Well, I mean, thankfully they don't have a plow. So I get out of that because I drive
Did you only have to shovel?
Chevy Bolt. So I don't do that. But when we've got 150 people in for 24 hours straight, we have to, and nothing's open. We have to feed them and provide them with coffee. And then we have to, because it happened over the weekend, we have cars that are town cars that have to be moved and relocated somewhere else so that we can plow here in the streets. So that, and then we have, I need somebody to be basically like our central dispatcher for all of our calls coming in over the radio from our crew members. So for cars that aren't in compliance with the parking ban and any, an MBTA bus that is spun out and is blocking the roadway and coordinating, or a personal vehicle that's stuck on somewhere it's not supposed to be stuck. So all that stuff. So I was doing that.
Those sounded like they weren't hypotheticals. In real life, that happened. Wow.
Those may have been real life examples.
Possibly
yeah.
not chosen randomly.
So yes, I always say that, I've worked in government before in other settings, but, municipal government and specifically DPW has given me a whole new appreciation for everything that goes into storm response and snow. It's more than I could ever fathom. So it's been an excellent education for me.
Well, and Aaron's email to the town meeting listserv, which I guess got this, really laid out all the steps and all the phases and all the work that's done. And the results, pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I thought you guys.
Well, good. Glad to hear that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that town's gotten better at messaging that sort of thing. I think people know that something's actually being done.
Yeah.
And I have a neighbor that got very bent out of shape. Another time, me and I had to tell him to relax because it was a car parked illegally, and when he called in, it wasn't towed immediately.
Yeah. Well, I was telling people, I was like, I've got 100 cars to tow and I have 2 tow trucks. So like we are moving as quickly as they can in mid blizzard.
Thank you for saying that because I'm going to pass that along.
So we
Well, pass
take
along
all
the-
that.
We could pass it over, right? Try more to.
Thank you for all
Hire
the
someone.
extra effort. As mentioned earlier, Nick has requested that I serve as acting chair tonight, and I have agreed to do that. And we now have a quorum with Nick having joined us. And so I will open the meeting of the Zero Emissions Advisory Board at 5:05 PM. And we will start with a review and approval of the draft meeting minutes. Were there any comments received prior to tonight?
Nope.
Did anyone bring any comments with them tonight? 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay,
We adopt the minutes.
so moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, and we will do a roll call for approval, starting with Nick. Hi, Nick. Nick. You hear us okay?
Yep, you can hear me.
Yes, and so we're looking for your response to the minutes.
Aye.
Tonight,
I have to abstain because I was in the meeting.
Hi.
aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
I just want to make one comment that if you had not attended a meeting, you do not have to abstain. Your vote is to confirm that the minutes are in proper order and clear. Correct.
Good to know. Yeah. They're still passed.
Yeah, but I go with what Michael said.
Okay, so you change your vote to aye. Okay. Great, thanks for that. And we are now officially almost ahead of schedule, public comment. And I see a hand raised on screen. Rebecca, are there other members of the public or just the one?
We have two members of the public, and no one online and no one in the room. So John, you can go ahead and if you'd like to turn on video, you can, but you are unmuted, so you can go ahead and share your public comment.
Yes, hi. Here I come, I think. Yep. There I go. Thank you. Yeah, John Harris, co-chair of Climate Action Brookline. Regarding Climate Week this April, we are now beginning discussions of the climate groups in town, CAB, Brookline Mothers Out Front, ECA Mass, etc., coordinating events to, in effect, revive Climate Week in Brookline, which, as a lot of climate folks know in town, has been a major event until it kind of petered out for several years, until it petered out kind of pre-COVID. Now, the National Climate Week is April 20th to 24th, but in Brookline here, unfortunately, that coincides with school vacation week. So there is also a possibility that, that we climate groups may decide to reschedule our own climate week to the week before, which is Monday, April 13th to Friday, April 17th. So I don't want to promise too much. I just want to say I know there are representatives of a bunch of climate groups present at this meeting as we speak, and this is something that I'm pretty excited about continuing discussions about. So everybody, please just stay tuned. Thank you.
Thanks, John. And hearing no other public comment, I guess we'll move on to item number 3, which is Alexandra and crew. Heard by Rex.
Awesome. So thank you, everyone. Good evening. Alexandra Vecchio, Director of Sustainability and Natural Resources. And I'm going to turn this over pretty quickly to our Deputy Director of Sustainability, Shelley Dean, who's prepared this presentation. This is really something that we might feel years ago at this point. But in December, we talked a little bit about Brookline's renewable energy credits and the commitment that was made to purchase those through town meeting. And I wanted to get some, provide an update to all of you on both the RECs that we have been purchasing historically. The contract that we're currently in expires at the end of
The end of 2026.
End of 2026. And so I think the question last time was at the end of this preliminary discussion was, should we continue to purchase these? And if not, what does that mean, as there was a directive through town meeting to do so? Ultimately, it would be helpful to get some sense from the board on ZIAB on their preference regarding RECs before we finalize the CARP, which is why we're bringing it forward now, but also if it is something that we want to revisit as part of the contract that we currently have to purchase those, then that's something that we would want to do probably by this summer so that we'd be prepared for that conversation. So this is primarily informative, but would love to get some feedback from you all and or hear other questions that you might have. So with that, I will turn it over to Shelley to take it away.
Thank you. Just for early context, even though this discussion is really about Brookline's purchasing RECs to cover our municipal electricity use, not the town as a community. I just wanted to provide some context. So in 2015 at town meeting authorized the creation of the Community Electricity Aggregation Program. And that was sort of Brookline's first foray into RECs and purchasing RECs. We selected Good Energy as our consultant to help implement the program, and the town secured a supply contract at that point through July 2017, which had us purchasing additional RECs for the community. At this point, we're now in our fourth contract for the community aggregation. That contract is a 36-month contract, and that contract has fixed pricing through December of 2027. And in that contract, residents who are participating in the Brookline Green program and the Brookline Green product add Mass Class 1 RECs to so that the amount of renewable energy reaches 100%. Now, when we get to the town's electricity for its own assets, in 2019, town meeting approved the purchase of RECs for municipal electricity. And the goal was to reduce greenhouse gas emissions to 0% by the year 2050, with an estimated annual cost of about $40,000 a year. So now if we can get to the next slide. And this was literally the resolution that was passed. You can see that it urges the town to rely on 100% green electricity. It urges the select board to adopt a policy where there's year-over-year increases for the year increases for the amount of RECs that are purchased. And it urges that the town have sufficient that it increases the amount so that there's 100% green electricity by 2050, and that and it urges the town meeting for the select board to adopt a policy to make this effective. To the best of my knowledge, the select board did not adopt a policy to request the town meeting adopt yearly increases for the purchase of RECs. And if we can go to the next, what the town decided to do was in our supply contract, in our electricity supply contract for municipal electricity, we have purchased 8% additional Mass Class 1 RECs, and we've done it for calendar year 2022 through, it will be through the end of 2026. So instead of their Mass Class 1 RECs, it's 8% additional above what is mandated, and that has been a consistent amount for the last 4 years, and it will be for this coming calendar year as well.
I think everybody knows this, but Shelley, you just want to briefly say what Mass Class 1 are?
Okay, I'll do my best. Therefore, primarily solar and primarily wind renewable energy projects that are new beyond, and I'm going to forget the date. But they need.
I was just looking this up, 2008, I think. Does that sound right?
I don't, I'm not gonna, yeah, I don't know, but the idea is, let's not provide RECs for old existing projects, there for newer projects, and the idea is to spur regional development of renewable energy. In fact, this is what
On or after January 1st, 1998,
okay.
according to Google.
Or according to AI. Yeah,
According to AI.
yeah. So,
Sorry, say that again.
Mass Class 1 renewable energy credits are generated by eligible renewable energy facilities that began their operation on or after January 1st, 1998.
So now this is the approximate cost of Brookline for again, the first 4 years are known because we have in fact completed calendar years 2022 through 2025. And you can see the amount of the second column is the amount of electricity that we purchased through our supply contract. The cost of RECs is about $35 a REC. And an 8% additional, you can see how many RECs the equivalent number of RECs that we purchased and retired. And the cost, which is the column second to right, is coming out averaging about $40,000 a year. There are some years where we purchase more electricity, some years we purchase a little bit less. And the last year, which is listed as 2026, that's really an approximation. I'm guessing that we'll purchase about 15 million kilowatt hours a year.
Shelley, just a quick, is there an extra zero in REC price dollar per kilowatt hour?
Which column?
These third column? Because we're saying it's $35 per megawatt hour, per
$35 per REC, which is 1,000 kilowatt
kilowatts per
hours.
megawatt.
Yeah.
So it's about 3 cents roughly.
Oh, did I get that wrong?
Yeah, I think you,
I'm
yes,
sorry.
yeah, it was just one extra zero.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, just confirm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for pointing that out. I must have made that mistake. The other thing, just, sort of full disclosure, Constellation doesn't cover 100% of the electricity that the town uses. There's always a little bit of churn, we open up a new electric account, it doesn't immediately get put on the Constellation contract. For example, the Constellation contract has, for the last 4 years, covered about 95% of the electricity that the town purchases. The other 5%, is on Eversource until we put it on the National Grid contract. So I think that's about it for this page. If you can go to the next slide. And what I did was sort of an informal poll of, a handful of other communities reached out to more, but not everybody responded. Wanted to let you know what other communities or some other communities are doing. And this again relates to RECs that they're using for their municipal electricity. Both Arlington and Newton are not purchasing RECs to cover their municipal electricity. Watertown is, and they're purchasing 20% this current year, 20%, above what is mandated, with annual increases to get to 100% by 2035. Cambridge, Concord Municipal Light Plant, and Weston purchase additional RECs to get to 100% renewable energy. Watertown purchases only Mass Class 1 RECs, and Concord Municipal Light Plant purchases a bunch of different RECs, which include Mass Class 1 RECs, but because Mass Class 1 RECs tend to be a little bit more expensive, they're not, that's not the lion's share of the RECs. As I mentioned, Concord Municipal Light Plant and also Weston don't purchase Mass Class 1 RECs. Weston doesn't purchase any Mass Class 1 RECs. Concord purchases some percentage of those. And Cambridge has basically decided to have a virtual power purchase agreement where they basically invested in out-of-state renewable energy projects, a wind project and a solar project. And they're getting the RECs from those. So that's kind of a overview of what this is not scientific, this is not, but just to give you sort of a range, a sense of the range of what other communities are doing. I think at that, I really, the town, as Alexandra mentioned, our supply contract ends at the end of this calendar year, where we've signed, I think, a new contract for the future, but we've been silent on the RECs. And the question is, what do we do now? So I think we wanted to open it up for discussion.
Other questions? I was just looking at the language of the resolution in the slide, which says, contemplates that there be a written policy, put into the town financial plan on this. Is that the contract expires at the end of the year, but is there any language going beyond that?
I don't believe so.
Mhm.
We did try to find that, you know,
Mhm.
through our own investigation and then ask some folks who had a little bit more tenure than us here.
Mhm.
And as far as I'm aware, there wasn't necessarily a policy that was adopted. It was, I think, just the directive was given and staff began to implement it. And then that became part of the, each financial, plan from year to year as part of the budget discussion.
And how did the costs compare? Purchasing the Rex, it's about 40,000 a year compared to not purchasing the Rex. I mean, is that a delta over what we would be? No, it's just the cost of the Rex. right?
Yeah, it's just the cost of the rec. So it's just an additional,
And the Brookline residents are paying for it.
no, for the $40,000? No, that's being paid for by the town's budget.
Yeah, and the residents pay because they pay taxes.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's a good point, but my assumption was that the default, that, let's say all of us get the default CCA rate, that includes rec purchases, which is higher than what we would have otherwise paid.
So what is the total that the town pays every year, or what percentage of this of the total?
For the rec?
Yeah, it's 40,000. What, I mean, is it small change or, I mean, it must be small change, right? I mean, that's.
Small change for what we pay for
Yeah,
electricity.
well,
Um,
you're 15 million kilowatt hours. That's what
It is,
Sorry, I
Yeah.
think I answered my question.
Yeah.
This is for the towns.
yeah, this is for the towns. Yeah, sorry. I, in the beginning, I talked about, community choice just as a precursor.
Precursor, but
But it's an expense line item on the town's budget, paid for by the residents of the town. Nick has had his hand up. 1%.
Just a note, I think that, and I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that the state has committed to having 100% renewable by 2050 anyway. So there's an aspect of the town resolution that is, if we did nothing, we would meet the town's resolution to hit 100% renewable by 2050 because the state has said that it will mandate that all electricity in the state is 100% renewable by 2050. Does that make sense?
When we started the CCAs from 2015, I guess, and we were talking about the class 1 RECs, and the explanation was that class 1 RECs would result in additional renewable energy production coming online, and that was the rationale for doing this. If we didn't buy these RECs, how would that affect the renewable energy content of the grid? And or let me put it another way, what does this really do in terms of reducing greenhouse gas emissions? I think that's really my question. And is it different now than it was 5 years ago?
Oops.
I don't think that,
Oh.
oh, sorry. Are you trying to say
Sorry.
something?
Yeah, we looked into this last year before, I think, Alan, you joined, and Patty and Bill. So we spent time talking to Larry Crichton and to Megan at City of Cambridge, and the thesis is that it moves the market when either aggregation programs or towns buy RECs. That's the thesis that that's put forward. But the reason that Cambridge is not purchasing class 1 RECs is because they do not believe that our purchase of Rex is moving the market. And the reason behind that is because when people are making investments in solar or wind, as a general rule, they're doing it based upon known financial outcomes, as opposed to the vagaries of whether or not talents buy stuff or residents choose to buy extra Recs. So they're really basing it on the state mandate and not the individual town or individual residential purchase of Recs. So their thesis is that this is not the best way to move forward. Having said that, it's $40,000, which doesn't sound like to me like a huge amount of money. So I'm not sure that I care either way.
Michael, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I mean, from a political perspective, given the budget crunch that we are under, $40,000 may seem like a relatively small amount in a $400 million budget. But the optics of it are actually, I think, pretty positive for cutting. Relative to other things that we might do with the money.
So
What would you be paying though for electricity? So what is the differential? That's what that was what my question was.
$40,000.
But you're buying X kilowatt hours with that.
But you're not.
But you're not
getting
using it.
Okay.
It doesn't
Right.
affect your consumption.
So it's still the bill.
Yeah.
Yeah, plus 40. Okay.
So when you say the optics of doing this is good public relations for the town to be buying green electricity.
No, the opposite.
you misunderstood.
Because I think there's optics both ways,
Yeah.
particularly if the Plan News reports that another town has stopped doing it. If it's really the right thing to do, I agree, but I still don't understand it. I don't understand what has changed in the last 5 or 10 years or whatever, and why we were convinced then. To me, it's complicated enough that back then, I think I understood it. I've forgotten all that by now. I don't, it was a long time ago. So I don't understand where we are right now. I don't feel like I understand enough to plug on it, so to speak.
I have a few questions myself. I see Vikram and Alan did you say something on that?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, to me, the other side of the coin is that if the town opts out from doing this, then what is that going to say to all of the business owners and residents who are currently buying Recs themselves? Why?
And why does Massachusetts still have this rec program if it isn't doing it? Where's the money go? That's another question. It's where there's $40,000 that's going somewhere. So if it's not doing anything to help the climate, somebody's putting it in their pocket. And what's it
That's
that?
going to the project owners
Yeah.
who are mostly Wall Street firms.
So they might lobby the state to keep it going.
Yeah, the private equity that owns that solar project or the wind project will get fees.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what I would say is that, when a developer proposes a project, they're looking for multiple revenue streams, right, to cover their costs. One is selling the electricity, especially if it's a head of the meter project, right? It's on a landfill. There's no use on site, so they want to sell the electricity, and they're going to get some revenue from that. And I think to compensate for high development costs in Massachusetts, to compensate for and New England, and to compensate for high land costs here. The state developed a REC program where it said, we'll figure out, how to give you the value of the clean electricity. And so they also count on the revenue from the RECs. So, between the revenue that they get from the RECs and the revenue that they get from selling electricity, that makes it affordable for them to develop a project. If they don't get one, then, the projects are not affordable enough. The electricity that gets generated is not enough to cover their costs.
I guess the question that I would have with that scenario is has the cost of producing that electricity changed sufficiently in the last 5 or 10 years to make that additional revenue stream unnecessary to actually incentivize?
I think you just hit the nail on the head.
So maybe sort of a vestigial, that Nick has his hand up.
I think there are two things here. There are class one RECs that are a required part of electricity supply. These are additional class one RECs that we're purchasing,
That's correct.
right? So Shelley's correct in that class one RECs help finance things, and those are continuing to go. The town is buying additional RECs beyond what we need to buy. I don't think we should be doing this. We've talked about this multiple times. I'm not going to add to the conversation. I think we should not spend the $40,000 and find something else to spend it on, but
Yeah, I would. Yeah, thanks, Nick. And Vikram, then I want to,
Sure. So couple things. I think the first one is to determine, to Alan's point, are they actually helping us develop more renewable energy projects by us spending this $40,000? And I think Cambridge, the reason why they made the decision is they determined it's not helping fund new projects by us buying RECs. And that's been the case for a while because the economics have changed. The second is, I think the town has two objectives, right? Climate impact and reducing our operating costs. Hence why we were looking at municipal solar. But in the CCA kind of a market situation, or if the town is buying its electricity from Constellation, if you look at what some of the other municipalities and other states are doing, is you can actually procure electricity directly from renewable sources. You can say, we want to buy X% of our electricity sourced directly from a local solar farm, wind farm, hydro farm, whatever you want to include in as a renewable definition. And that electricity is much cheaper, right? As we saw in our municipal solar, even at our small scale, we can achieve 7, 8, 9 cents a kilowatt hour electricity. At large scale utility scale projects are down to now 4 or 5 cents. So not only we don't have to pay extra for RECs, we can actually reduce our energy bills if we go direct procurement from the likes of Constellation, right? Or we can put it out to bid and say, we would like X% of our electricity from renewables. Mm-hmm. So that could be an option that gets us to.
To me, that's better than just stopping doing what we're doing.
okay, Patty.
Call me. I'm sorry, I wasn't there for the discussions. All right, I'm on the board. And I'm just trying to understand some basic. I'm trying to compare this to community aggregation programs. So that we're buying 8% over the RPS, the states.
Yes.
Community aggregation is for everyone out there in the community. And we're also, it's the default plan is 100% renewable, also enhanced by RES.
Yes.
It's not the RPS. And so what percentage above, what's the comparator to the community? What are we asking the community to do?
Now it's probably about 60%, isn't it? Something like that.
Right,
Is the grid in, I'll say, 35-40% renewable, and if you make it up to 100%, let's say 65%.
It's about, yeah, it's about half.
I was gonna say it's about 50%.
Yeah,
But
whatever.
my numbers could be off.
Yeah.
So
But the costs compared to just regular retail it's been better. I mean, the
For
costs for-
CCA?
with, yeah,
Yes, yeah.
at least recently.
Yes, it fluctuates, obviously, it's, but the basic, level has been, cheaper. And it's just more consistent of a cost because we're locking that in for a longer period of time,
Yeah.
whereas the utility, rates change more frequently. So
But in our case, it's more expensive.
No,
to the tune
no,
of-
it's not.
the basic is what's in the grid, and we get, the CCA gets a really good price.
50%, around 50%.
Then whatever we call the other one, that's 100% green,
Brookline
is
Green.
what's in the grid plus the
Recs.
price of buying the Rex.
Mhm.
That's a differential.
Right, but the overall cost to the consumer, the household, me or whoever, is a little bit less than just the default
Right,
retail.
right, and,
No.
no, well, I don't actually know right now.
Even those
Um,
graphs,
it-
showing.
You're paying about 2 cents more to a.
No, actually, you're right. Thank you, Alexandra. If, so at the moment, you know, and Eversource changes their rates every 6
Mhm.
months, right? But at the moment, Eversource is charging 15.065 cents per kilowatt hour for, you know,
Great.
for their electricity. If a Brookline resident participated in Brookline Green, but opted down, which means they're only getting the amount of renewable energy that is mandated, their cost would be 13.4 cents. So they would save, you know, about a penny and a half. I'm making up, you know,
Okay.
rounding, right? Our default project, though, is higher than that. Our default project is to bring it up to 100%. And our default project is 14.68 cents. So our default project is about 0.4 cents less than Eversource. Same, and I would say that that's comparable to what the town is doing. If the town purchased our electricity directly from Eversource, or I don't know exactly what the rate would be, but we went out to Constellation and got a 3-year contract, which we thought was a good rate. And then we made it a little bit more expensive by adding 8% renewable
Per the town meeting.
per the town meeting resolution. It's still cheaper than if we had bought it directly from Eversource.
So,
So it's somewhat comparable. In the sense
no, I
of
just said that.
you could, you know, it could be cheaper, but the idea was because of the benefit of buying additional recs, and certainly the town as a whole, as a community, purchases way more than 15 million kilowatt hours. So it purchases way more recs than the town does. But I think the idea was that the town would sort of lead by example or follow the example, maybe.
Right.
I guess maybe follow the example that residents in town are doing by purchasing our recs as well.
So I'd like to do a time and status check on this topic.
Yeah.
We have a few other things to cover tonight. Can you characterize for us what it is we are being asked to do tonight?
Well, I would like Ziav to eventually, not necessarily tonight, but eventually come to a consensus and recommendation on if these additional recs that the town is purchasing, if we should continue to pursue that. I understand that decision, it doesn't need to be made right now. My question is if there is additional information that you need to make that decision, it would be helpful for us to know that, to gather that. And I was hoping, although I don't have it, but I was hoping to generally get a sense of how we felt about Rex as a body. But I think there's still a lot of question marks that folks
Yeah,
have.
I think we feel the full spectrum of possible
Yeah,
responses.
yeah.
As a body, but we have talked about this a lot. And so what is the process at that point? We make a recommendation to you, and is that a staff decision or would it end up? being
No,
a
it would,
select
I think
decision?
if you're making a recommendation, then it would be a recommendation to the select board, and then the select board would decide if they wanted to act on that or not. I
For
think.
this one line item for the next year.
Yes,
This-
yeah,
okay.
right.
And so I think the way I've been thinking about this discussion is, could that $40,000 be put to better use? Particularly given, you know, the spirit of what was intended in the warrant, in the article, the resolution is the word I'm looking for. And we had talked about that in the context of further investment in local solar. And whether $40,000 further invested in local solar is a better use of 40,000 than potentially kind of abstract use as a rec. Or not spent at all in order to relieve budget pressure. And so I guess to me, those are the questions that we're looking at here. I'm not feeling a sense that we would recommend not spending that money at all, that, you know, just for budget reasons. That we still have a commitment to environmental and climate goals. And if we've been planning for $40,000 a year to spend in that sense in some way, then is this the best use of that for, or could it be someone else? Nick, and then I think we should, I want to try to call a tentative question, not necessarily a vote yet, but Nick.
We actually don't have a vote on the agenda for
right, just
today,
wanna-
so,
right.
but I think the thing that we need is what other information you all need.
Okay, Nick,
So the town, and hopefully this will go forward, the $3.2 million for municipal solar. If this isn't the best use, if we don't think that the RECs are, purchasing additional RECs is the right thing for the town to do, I think there's
oh, well,
Nick, you have those?
can somebody text him and tell him we lost him? Well, I can tell,
Well, he's not, I just said, if there's some more information, I'd be fascinated to know whether Cambridge put anything in writing before they made the decision.
I'd like to know what Good Energy has to say about it in particular. If the contract expires at the end of this year, then Good Energy must be working on the contract.
It's two different contracts. There's a
No, I
Okay,
understand it's different contracts, but Vickle brought up an interesting point. Could Good Energy go out and get contracts for a CCA that have renewable energy built into them at a lower price than purchasing the RECs?
We talked to them about that 2 years ago, 18 months ago, when the CCA contract was up for renewal. But because we had to make a decision within weeks, not months.
Yeah, right.
They basically, the recommendation was just too late. So for the CCA, we pushed the decision out to say, let's revisit the discussion of direct procurement to a later date, but maybe.
Let's would that later date be the contract that starts in 2027?
So we were talking CCA.
Yeah,
This is for the municipality, but
no, I'm talking CCA also.
yeah, we should, I think, start that discussion with that, with the.
another thing I'd be curious about is Newton having pulled out altogether, kind of. And just
We were also curious about that.
there's a little more to learn about what the reasoning was behind that. I mean, they didn't have the basis that we have in the form of a resolution.
so Newton is really an outlier, in terms of pulling out, I had, not a completely comprehensible conversation with Newton about this. Their stance was that the renewable energy certificate market was going to become, quite limited, that there would be tremendous demand. And part of that, I think, is because of Virgo, that and they didn't say that. They didn't say that it was because of Virgo, but that's kind of where I'm trying to put two and two together. That property owners in Boston who can't meet the requirements to reduce their emissions have to purchase RECs. So
Cambridge also. Yeah.
I think it only just. But I think this is the first year for Boston. That this is,
Well, in any case.
but anyway, their sense was that the market was going to be tapped out for RECs. They didn't want to add additional pressure onto RECs. Developers who or utilities who can't purchase RECs then have to purchase alternative energy certificates. The alternative energy certificates, which I think largely, maybe, I don't think exclusively, but I'm not sure, go to the Mass Clean Energy Center, are now being used to reduce cost of electricity for Massachusetts residents. So it was sort of a complicated, the thought was that they didn't want to add additional pressure.
Good,
In
thank
the
you.
conversations I've had with Green Energy Consumers Alliance, they're not the biggest purchasers of RECs, but their sense was that Newton was not necessarily was being overly cautious. In a conversation I had with somebody from Boston Berto, they felt like they weren't going to move the market on the cost of Rex. So I think it's up in the air.
It doesn't sound like there's a solid conclusion by ZHAP for sure. I'm also not sensing there's a solid movement overall around Rex these days compared to what might have been the case once upon a time. So what is the latest date by which you need to make a decision about this?
I mean, I think at this point, we really are looking at, are we pursuing in our next contract with Constellation or whomever, are we pursuing additional rec purchases? And that, I don't know the exact date for when that contract is reviewed and signed, but it will be this summer. So that's the most important date for if ZF wanted to recommend that we not pursue that. I would be sure that with that my suggestion would be that with that recommendation, you say, and here's where the money should be spent, that we think it's better, and here's why. Ultimately, you don't have the financial decision-making power, but I think to present it as, we don't think this is worth it, but we want to use the money, don't touch it. I think it's going to be a harder case to make in our budget environment. So I think we think this isn't the highest and best use. Here's what we see, and here's the value.
So my suggestion is that we queue this up for a next meeting or two we've had a couple of questions tossed your way. And I think the way I'm looking at it is, what is the best use of this money? That should just, to me, given what we're trying to accomplish now. And the best use of this money could be to help relieve the town's budget. I mean, take it out entirely. Or the
Sustainability budget.
best use of this money is some other. Now, Nick just asked, he's the next agenda item. And so we're having trouble connecting with him. He just asked.
I'm back.
Yeah, but you asked a very quaint question that I wanted to relate to everybody. You asked, is there a dial-in number? What's a dial-in number?
Yes, there is you can call in from your phone, Nick, directly. There is a number that you can
Might be on the email.
Can he send his PowerPoint over the dial-in?
Oh.
no, you can't do that.
It's just the phone.
Yeah, no, I was being, what is it called?
Well, you could have just asked, what is dial?
Dial, what's a dial? So is there anything?
We're all
more-
old enough.
Frozen, we can hear him now.
Yeah, and Nick, how are you set up to do your next agenda item? Are you gonna be presenting something?
Well, so I sent out the document. I think I can't present from here. I don't think. I think it would be easier for Rebecca to present it or whatever. But I sort of sent out some general thoughts about how I would prefer to do I don't want us to go through like line by line. I just want to get a sense really if the narrative sounds right to everyone, what people feel is missing. I think there might be some things in there that we could reasonably remove. And then also, I feel like there's part of the narrative that could be strengthened is what's the plan for 2026? And there's some obvious things in there, and maybe that's all we need. But if people have ideas about what we should have in there, that would be great. And Bill, I think Bill, you have to run the discussion a little bit because it's very hard for me to do it from the phone.
Right. Especially without a dial-in.
Before we go on.
Yeah, I didn't need to jump to the next agenda. I wanted to make sure you were in place to do it. And then wanted to make sure we wrapped up the rec discussion. So you are in place to hold that thought. Anything more to say about Rex? There's always more to say about Rex. Is there anything that needs to be said right now?
I think,
You're gonna say.
can I just ask that if you have questions and additional information that you feel like you need, so that I hear you saying, we've had this conversation before, but we haven't come to a decision. So what information do you need to come to a decision? And if you could tell us what that information is, we will do our best to collect it. But I'd rather do that than us guessing at what we think you want and not bringing you the information you're looking for.
So I'll start with one. is what are the other alternatives available to the town to both meet our climate goals and potentially reduce our expenses?
What do you mean?
Example of direct procurement. Is direct procurement an option for us rather than buying directs? Or are there other options that we should be considering that meets our climate goals and we don't have to spend extra money?
You're talking about direct procurement of 15 million kilowatt hours?
Or portion of that. Again, 15 billion kilowatt hours, we already know that our grid has about 40% or whatever already renewable. But can we, so the second question to that is, what is $40,000 climate impact? Like, is it actually equivalent to, just making up a number, 10,000 pounds of carbon emissions? How can that impact be achieved with less spending and more direct investment?
Mhm.
Right. I think that is the biggest question that Alan started with, is are these RECs actually moving the needle in reducing carbon emissions?
But then,
Well, okay, I really need to,
Yeah.
that's the question you are asking your staff to look into. Michael, you,
I just wanted to posit. You had said that the deadline was the Constellation, the contract of the next summer. And I'm wondering whether or not the deadline is actually more related to the budget. Because we have, if this money is not part of the budget, then you can't get the contract. So the question of whether or not it goes in the budget for this line item is going to be answered much before the meeting.
Right, but I believe that it is in there already. I can double check that, but because we're committed to, we have a contract with Constellation to continue this through the end of 2026. So it's calendar year 2026. So that brings us into halfway through fiscal year 27.
Right, but as a line item, it's there, but the second half of that fiscal year, what you're saying is also under
Yes,
in the budget.
yes, I believe so.
And if we do not do the contract, then that money is presumably either turns into free cash or something else. Or somebody like the select board could decide, no, we're actually not gonna leave that second half in.
Yes.
So it could get pulled through the process.
So,
but the point is that the timing is more than just the contract itself. It's planning for the budget.
Right, and
So I wonder if we could identify this as a agenda item for our next CF meeting. And ideally with the questions answered, and I think we've expressed the concerns. I think we've heard a range of viewpoints on this. We've heard some that say it doesn't make sense to continue. We've heard some that there's a reason to continue, or at least to consider and find out more. And let's see if we can converge.
And I'll try to get some clarity as well on that confirmation on the budget question as well.
Nick, you are raising your hand. Is that still with respect to threats, or are we going to move on to your agenda item now?
Well, so my comment is just that I did ask for my agenda item to be first. I think that was missed maybe in the email exchanges. I have about 6 minutes left to have the discussion about the select board presentation. So if we don't move on to that in some shape, then we're going to have to do it asynchronously in some way.
Well, let's do it then. Everybody got the write-up that Nick sent today, right? And are there any immediate responses that should be brought up and provided to Nick while he's available to us?
I would say substantively, I don't have any concern. It was quite long, and I wondered how you were planning to shorten it to make it a presentation that would work.
Yeah, I think these are more sort of, I wanted to get the narrative flow. I wanted to get the sense of, I think the The narrative is pretty hopeful. I feel that it's pretty hopeful. It's a sort of story of like building both, ZIAB with additional members, building the sustainability division, us working together to, the kind of like grand finale of the municipal solar working group at the end of the year. I think it's a really positive story. I liked the story in there about the votes that we made, the substantive votes we sent to the select board. Obviously, there was the September 3rd vote, which was kind of a damp squib, but I think overall we did things reasonably well, and we've learned from that. So I think there's a pretty good narrative. The thing I would be looking for is if people felt like this wasn't the right narrative, if there was something else we should be saying, or if there was, some major thing that we worked on last year or that we need to work on this year that was missing. That's kind of what I was looking for.
Nick, I think you got my comments, which in writing, I just added comments to the document.
Thank you, Patty.
When will this presentation happen?
It's scheduled for March, 1 second. Tuesday, March 10th.
So ZIAB will not be meeting before then.
That's correct.
Okay.
We don't meet the first week of March.
That's next week.
That's next week, and we, actually, I'm sorry, we do have
Oh.
a meeting next week, but that's also the day that any meeting materials for select board meetings need to be sent in the Wednesday before the meeting date. So because we're meeting with select board on Tuesday, March 10th, the ZIAB meeting is Wednesday, March 4th. So we would need to submit everything to the board for their packet by Wednesday, March 4th, the same time we're meeting.
I thought it was Thursday noon.
No, for that, they tell us that they want it all Wednesday so that they have time to coordinate the call.
Well, I think it's very thorough and I really support Nick presenting. I'm still curious how you would boil it down to something you can talk about in a meeting, but I trust you to do that. And I think the thoroughness really shows what we've accomplished. So I'm comfortable with it.
And I was remembering, I didn't find it, but I was remembering what you presented last year and thought that was great, so that level of detail, that manner of presentation, distilling what you and your friend Claude came up with, I think is, it would be a good path. And I would not personally feel the need to review what you were going to say prior to presenting it.
Michael,
I think,
5-minute update, is
Sure.
that for on the board and commission update?
We had Parks and Rec
Mhm.
last night, and I think it went a little longer because there were questions.
Well, I mean, without the questions, it's just
Yeah, yeah.
like the presentation side of it, I think they want that to be.
Yeah, somewhere between 5 and 8 minutes.
And presumably,
I think, Alex,
they'll give you privately comments, right? So.
I think I will need some of Alexandra's time if you have some time, Alexandra, before then, because there's some cleanup to be done on the sustainability kind of part I put together. I would like to have at least your input on that. So I think that it might make sense to suggest, if Alexandra has time, that she and I work on the actual presentation part together. I just want to make sure the story is right.
Is that correct, that if we have some comments, we should just send them to Nick?
Sure. But Nick, that's fine with you, right? As Patty did.
That's
Yeah.
however you want to get it to me.
And certainly the two of you working together is perfect.
Send it by dial-up.
I also accept carrier pigeon, so that's fine too.
You have a roost.
I do.
Okay, well, thank you, Nick, for joining us from your car, wherever you are. And you can stay with us as long as you can, I hope.
I have to go right now.
Oh, okay. Is that you waving goodbye then? Okay.
It is.
Thanks, Ed. And with that,
Caramello on the road.
yeah. With that, let's move on to the division update from Alexandra and friends.
All right. We can do it. There we go. Okay, all right. Sustainability and natural resources division update. CARP. I actually want to dig in a little bit on the prioritization framework with all of us together. But I want to start kind of big picture with the timeline. So this is the slide that you've seen for some time now. So we are moving into the final stretch of the Climate Action and Resiliency Plan. It is, John, I don't know if you're still listening, but you mentioning the Climate Week, it is our goal to have the CARP finalized and published and ideally approved by ZIAB and the Select Board by Earth Day. So that's when we'll be doing some pretty extensive messaging around the plan, what's in it, and hopefully launching our website for people to follow along with the information in the plan. So that is our deadline that we're working towards, which kind of is crazy to think about, but we basically have about 6 weeks to get through this final stage of things. So I did a little bit of a closer look at those 6 weeks just to map this out for folks. So we have a full CARP that is going to be posted for public comment on our website by this Friday. We'll be sharing that with an email out to anybody who came to any of the public forums, took the survey, any of the boards or commission members that we presented to, all of you as well, saying, here's the draft, please take a look and share your comments. I did already ask, and Bill graciously accepted the challenge of serving as kind of an immediate first peer reviewer on behalf of ZIAB. So he did a very deep dive of a long document. So thank you for that, Bill. And have incorporated his comments and feedback already into that. This won't be the shiny polished bells and whistles. This is just going to be a PDF document that's posted online. Up to you all, kind of the level of review that you're looking to do there. If you want to kind of see the big picture things and then move on, if you just want to read the executive summary, that's fine. But this is a speak now or hold your peace so kind of moment in the process. So the last significant bite at the apple. We're looking for those comments at by March 9th. And then we will be coming to ZIAB with those comments incorporated and a final draft for ZIAB review and potentially to vote on. You'll see that both March and April, I have to be determined. Which one of the items on our agenda this evening is to talk about the fact that due to budget meetings, my schedule is all screwed up in March. So we're going to need to do a little bit of reconfiguring on when we're meeting for our second meeting in March. And I didn't want to presume that ZIAB would be able to review and vote at that meeting. So I wanted to provide a backup meeting option if necessary in early April, just because of the holidays. That's also a little tricky with Passover and Easter and things like that. So we can talk about the exact meeting dates in a few minutes, but that is the intention, that we have that vote by the April, no later than April 8th. So that we are then prepared to go before the select board on April 14th. And then having a final and approved plan on April 22nd. So the next, sorry, any questions about that immediately? Other than the to be determined dates that we have to talk about?
Is there a venue for public comment? How are you?
We're asking that people submit public comment to our general sustainability at brooklinema.gov email inbox. And we'll be going through and hopefully, we don't get a flood of them all by the last date, and instead we have them coming in throughout the review period, and we're able to kind of slowly incorporate those.
How are you publicizing the availability of that?
We're sending a direct email out to everyone who came to the public forums, who took the survey, who was on a board or commission that heard about the climate action resiliency plan. We're also sending it to Mothers Out Front and Climate Action Brookline, and then we'll also do a social post on our web pages as well. Okay. So the next piece that I wanted to talk about, there was some discussion about this over email with a few members of ZEAB, and so I wanted to revisit it. So taking a step back, we have prioritized our strategies, and we reviewed those at our February 4th meeting. We reviewed the framework that was utilized. We talked, spent a lot of time talking about direct and indirect, and we then staff at the end of that conversation, it was kind of concluded, all right, let's leave it to staff to determine what the best final definition is, and just make sure that it's being applied, consistently across the framework. I'm bringing up equity now because the question was raised about the Birdie item, the Birdie strategy, that it ended up classifying as low, given the scoring that it received through the prioritization framework. And when reviewing that, Nick brought up the fact that he felt that the equity score that it was given was inaccurate. And so I wanted to revisit there was concern about the definition that was being used for equity. So the first piece I'd like to do is just talk about the equity definition, and then I'll talk about how it was applied with a few examples. So this definition of equity at the top, initiatives that addresses the disproportionate environmental burdens borne by environmental justice communities. That is the definition that we came up with collectively through the ZEAB process. Then how we applied it to low, medium, or high was low is minimal or no impact to environmental justice populations. Medium, it improves environmental services, but it's broadly distributed, so it's not targeting that population. And high is it actively reduces environmental burdens and targets EJ populations specifically.
Were there numbers associated with those? What were the multiplier numbers corresponding to low, medium, and high?
1, 2, 3. But those low, medium, and high definitions we tightened those up. We shifted those slightly because what ZEAB had utilized, it was not quite structured enough for us to be able to clearly apply it to all the strategies. So that was shifted by Blue Strike, our consultant, and staff based off of us actually going through and trying to apply it throughout the framework. So how the equity definition was then applied, it meant that if an action doesn't have a significant impact on environmental justice communities, or it could potentially have a negative impact, namely through cost, then it ranked low. If it was something that widely improved environmental services for all populations, including non-environmental justice communities, it was medium. And then high actions specifically target EJ populations. And in fact, they many times called that out in the action items, saying, we're planting 450 trees, we're going to prioritize planting those in environmental justice communities and things like that. So that was the definition that we utilized in the framework that you saw on February 4th and is still true. So then the question came of, well, how many strategies actually fell into high, medium, or low using that definition? This is not all of them. I provided a snippet with some examples to help folks understand, but 13 total strategies ranked as high in the equity category. Well, excuse me, 21 ranked as medium in the equity category and 10 ranked as low. I'm not looking to revisit every single strategy. I'm simply looking to have a focused conversation about Birdie and that strategy to understand if ZIAB, which given the definitions of high, medium, and low, and giving some of these examples of other strategies and how they were classified, what do you feel is the appropriate score for Birdie as a strategy?
It's hard to talk about without talking about the general issue.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I'm just looking at the high, increased micromobility town-wide. I mean, that seems more like a medium. It's a policy that could improve for a wide swath of Brookline.
But it's for that one, it's an example of one that we're specifically improving access for people who otherwise wouldn't have access to biking, walking, public transportation.
Through infrastructure, road improvements.
Exactly. Specifically targeting environmental justice areas as well.
I see of the town geographically.
Yes.
I see, okay.
Like locating a bike share near a
Yeah.
certain location. EJ location.
So I think I will just say, in my mind, there is no way that Birdie would classify as high. I don't know how that could be justified. So I think if the real question is, do you feel like a building emissions reduction and disclosure initiative to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by requiring and supporting existing large buildings to track, report, and meet declining emissions targets, if that would have a generally improving environmental services for all populations across Brookline, or if you feel that it would not have a significant impact on EJ communities and possibly could have a negative impact, namely through cost implications.
Well, I guess going back to the email that Nick said, could you go back to the other slide, the one that shows, yeah. Actually, the one that shows the definitions, yeah. On Birdie, while we haven't gotten far enough along to say specifically what it is, we seem to be leaning towards commercial only. And I think Nick's point in the email was that the commercial only would not would not have a burden on environmental justice communities, but could help them by reducing greenhouse gas emissions and things like that. If people were, if that were accepted, I would say that would be, I guess, medium by your definition, not high. It's all communities. So that would be one thing. And then my other question is, other than I think it's important for us to just have consensus on the definitions and how we use them, would it change where Birdie is in the ranking anyway?
Yes.
It would.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I think the question then is, I would say if it is really just focused on.
You can make an argument against that also by saying that if the commercial buildings have to do that, they're going to pass the costs on. I think to customers and so on. You or Nick? Yeah.
No, I had misunderstood. Nick clarified. So I had recommended a different rating, but I think once the clarification was there that this is commercial large buildings, which I missed. Yeah, I was fine with changing the ranking.
I think then the strategy should reflect that we're just talking about Birdie for commercial. Because if we're talking about Birdie for 20,000 square feet and larger, that doesn't just mean commercial. That could mean other buildings as well. That could mean larger developments that residents live in, and those costs could be passed on to residents.
Right, yeah.
also, my understanding was that at the time, we
yeah,
were
right.
thinking about expanding it past 20,000 square feet down to not necessarily a single family homeowner, but other buildings as well.
But again, this is one of the sort of problems of holding. I think it's fine to do what you just suggested, because I think we're talking about really maybe some sort of applying this in a 5-year plan. Part of my assumption would be that if you start Verde, one of the things you start on commercial, non-residential, clearly that's what we're talking about where we start. But we start learning about it, and during that, you don't just say, oh, well, we're not going to think about low-income people because we're not only doing commercial right now. Right now, you think a long term, 20 years from now, we want to have it applied everywhere. One of the challenges is to do it in a way that deals with environmental justice. It doesn't punish poor people, but that you can't put all that in there somehow. Right now, you focus on the next 5 years, which is non-residential commercial, and that makes it a medium.
Or not even 20 years. I mean, the CARP is what, 15? We're saying it's around 15 years.
It's a 10-year
Coverage,
plan
right.
with a 5-year check.
So if you start with commercial, you could move on to residential long before the CARP, is over. And we're working on a new CARP, but Newton mitigated these kinds of effects by having a hardship. It's kind of the devil is in the drafting, and how you mitigate against impacts.
So are you particularly asking whether CF will accept BE 3.3 being categorized as equity low as compared to equity medium? Is that the specific ask?
That is, and I think if the rationale for it being equity medium is that it's specifically targeting commercial buildings, then I think that language should be in this strategy, and it should say develop a Verde to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by requiring supporting commercial buildings to track, report, and meet defining emissions.
So when you say that language, does that language say this is a strategy, a 15-year strategy or a 5-year strategy or a 50-year strategy?
It's a 10-year strategy because it's a 10-year plan with the chance to check in 5 years and say, do we need to update this?
So by doing that, because I think I would support that, but that would sort of in a sense lock us in saying that we're
For 5 years.
for 10 years. Well, 5 years you could be.
It's hard.
Let's be clear about this, because there's sounds like there's a misunderstanding about that. It's a 10-year plan, not 15. And it's a 10-year plan with the opportunity halfway through to revisit what we've learned and what we've accomplished and reassess going forward. And that could be specific wording. The word commercial could be replaced by residential. All those sorts of things could happen in 5 years.
Yeah.
To me, with that, my personal feeling is with that understanding, a change like you just described would be acceptable, low, with a full understanding that we're going to be taking a close look at this is one of the major ones. 5 years.
Well, you're
Or medium commercial. Vikram,
If we do what I think you just suggested Newton did, is we basically specify that the strategy will ensure that environmental justice communities will not be hurt or will be protected, then this could be either a medium or a high.
right. I'm trying to understand your argument for low, because you can draft it in such a way that it wouldn't be low.
I think the concern was going back to our definitions is that it's not specifically improving environmental services for EJ populations. And in fact, there could be a cost that's passed on to them, whether officially or not, because a owner of a building could then increase the cost for the residents based off of the requirements that they are compliant with Verde. It's like we've taken away, for Massachusetts brokers, you no longer, when you're renting a property, the broker fee can't be charged to the renter. Well, the landlord isn't just going to say, now I'll pay $4,000 and you don't have to, it's going to be passed down. So it's that same thought process.
In the medium category, can you go back to that slide that had there are 21 strategies for medium? I mean, are some of those more general reduce carbon emissions? So isn't that this? Why wouldn't it be a medium?
because of the fact of the potential negative impact on,
No, the word-
Because-
but
because-
the word
theoretical.
commercial could be adjusted to. medium.
Right,
right, because
if that's making an assumption about how it'll be dropped in.
yes, because
Mhm.
Diab has talked about it in a lot of different versions of it. And I think if there's any version that we're talking about that is at residential, then I think we need to think about the impact of those costs and who's going to carry those costs.
Are we in agreement that the initial 5 years could be commercial targeted? Does this group agree with that?
Yeah, so maybe
The
we just
idea
have
of
that one
releasing-
revisit. Just do commercial and medium.
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
Were there?
All right, so we are working on some grants. We have a few that we've already secured that are underway, including the Mass Clean Energy
But
Center.
before we get off of it, this is not a birdie thing, but before we get off the matrix, I was going through things again, looking at all the building things, and something struck me this afternoon, and I'll bring it up if you don't want to talk about it, fine. Their BE 2.1 is prioritize electrification of municipal buildings. And it's got, at least on what you presented to us, to let me a medium. Okay. BE 2.2, reduce energy use intensity in municipal buildings by 33% by 2036, and that has low. Just by changing from fossil fuel heat to a heat pump, you'll reduce the EUI of a building by 67%. I'm wondering if those really are separate things, or maybe it needs somehow you need to combine those or something. It just seems to be an inconsistency there, unless the 2036 is what's forcing.
I think it's the actions that supplement both of those strategies. So I would say let's take that offline and you and I can
Yeah,
look
yeah,
at
yeah,
each
let's-
of those side by side and I can go through the actions.
Yeah, because a lot of the actions in the 2.2 look like things that a good building manager would be doing anyway.
Maybe, yeah. Okay, so for grants, we have the Mass Clean Energy Center curbside charging grant that's underway, our MVP 2.0, which is our climate resiliency planning grant, as well as the Mass EVIC grant for the Baker School EV charging stations. We're still waiting to hear on the DARA grant. I might be retired by the time we hear about it at this point, and we are waiting to hear on the Massachusetts Community Biodiversity Grant. We're actively working on applications for the Mass CEC Empower Grant, which is to purchase renter weatherization kits and distribute those for free. We're also working on a Green Communities Grant focused on energy reduction at Brookline High School, and a Cooling Corridors Grant, which is focused on tree planting and the development of another mini forest outside the public health building. And I just bring up the grants just as a reminder that, in the budget environment that we're in, the success of our division is very much determined by the dollars that we are bringing in to help support the work that the town wants to achieve, and the ways that we are offsetting other costs associated with our daily operations.
Will particularly the curbside EV charging, what condition will they be in by Earth Day? What will we?
No, we'll be like starting construction by Earth
There'll be
Day.
a shovel in the ground or something?
Yeah.
Be good to get the word out.
We will be sending a letter to because the transportation board, in order to approve those, the transportation board has to approve the fact that it will change to EV parking at those locations. And so we're sending out information to the residents who live near each of the different locations. And so as part of that, we will include information on here's what's coming and that kind of thing, but it'll be focused to those neighborhoods. Our capital projects, very excited to say that Mother Nature slowed us down a little bit with the storm this week, but Driscoll Rooftop Solar, our construction begins there tomorrow. And we anticipate it being somewhere around 6 to 8 weeks. And so the work is initially beginning right now in the electrical room, but eventually it will be obviously, installing the panels themselves will involve a crane and will be a much more extensive, construction operation. And hopefully that will happen when there is not snow on the roof. Our Baker School, we have additional EV charging stations, that are coming in the spring. We're hoping that we will be able to install those over, April vacation week, but, I don't hold me to that quite yet. And then, we talked about this previously, but I did just want to confirm that we have now reduced the green spot charging stations at the Fuller Street lot and the Kent Webster Place lot. So we went from 20 ports to 6 at the first and 14 to 4. So those previous EV spots are now available for all vehicles to park.
Is that because they were not getting?
They were not being highly utilized, and it was particularly, well, both of them, but Fuller Street is not that large of a lot. It's a very highly utilized lot, and that was one of the first locations for EV charging. And knowing what we know now, it was way too many stations in there. So we were getting a lot of negative feedback from the community about there never being parking.
And the cost is roughly 20 cents per kilowatt hour more
It's a lot more. And
at
the,
Green Spot
and
versus.
as a customer that's very poorly serviced by the vendor, I'm glad to see that being reduced.
Yeah, but I think the cost also.
This is huge. Way. So anyway, let's keep moving on. We're behind our schedule here, so.
So a couple of things I want to bring to your attention. You all met Carolyn, our energy advocate, last month at a previous meeting. Maybe that was this month. I don't think it was last month. So we are, that's through our Community First Partnership Grant. Carolyn, a press release is going out tomorrow announcing this, but we are now setting up office hours on a regular basis for her to serve residents. So they have any questions about their energy bills, questions about how they can save energy, questions about how they participate in the Math Save program, really anything. She will have open hours starting at Putterham Library, and then we're looking at additional locations like the Senior Center and the other 2 libraries to make herself available to folks. Yeah.
Are we as ZF members on a listserv with these kinds of pushes about these kinds of events? Because we can send it to friends who are maybe town meeting members in South Brookline, for example.
So I would say the best way is if you're signed up for the town news alerts, then the press releases,
Just the general.
yeah, get sent out through that. And then Springfest, which is my favorite event of the year. So save the date. This is our climate and environmental focused community event that we are hosting for our, so I guess our fourth year. So it will be on Saturday, May 30th in Olmsted Park. We will have a tree ID walk, refreshments and music. We'll also have a wide variety of climate education activities and actions for people to participate in. Last year, Kathleen joined us and she helped to share some information. What table did she work at? She was at the
Did carp.
did, yeah, about CARP. And this will be, shortly after we finalize that plan. So we're hoping to have it there to talk to people about it. But we also talked about Brookline community choice aggregation and green electricity and a few other programs that I'm not thinking of at the moment. And I think that's it. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I think you still have the microphone. Yes. For the next agenda item.
Great. And
Meeting dates.
next agenda item is meeting dates. Great. Sorry, set it for my agenda. Okay, so we are, what day is it? Who am I? Where am I? Okay, so it's Wednesday, February 25th. We have our next meeting a week from today, the 4th. Then our next meeting should have been on the 18th. However, I now have a budget meeting at that time and date. So, however, I would like, as indicated for Ziad to meet before the end of the month so that we can look at the climate action and resiliency plan. So how does March 25th work for folks? And it would be, I would love to have everybody at that one if possible.
Well, I can't be there. I'll be in Japan and I won't be in a place where I could, even if I wanted to.
Unacceptable, Alan. Okay, how does that work for others?
I could only be there for the first hour, I can be there for the first hour.
That's about right for me too. Would an earlier start be possible for people?
Would be for me.
Sorry, which dates?
Wednesday, March 25th.
25. 4:30 to 6:30, I could do.
I need to be a maybe.
That is the day of the Climate Commission for Women celebration, which will be upstairs,
At what time?
6:30.
Okay. Would people prefer we look at a different time, so like a 4 to 6, or that we look at a different day?
What does April 1st do to you? And Alan will use exactly April 1st.
Can't do April 1st because that's Passover.
Right. Yeah, because we do, unless we meet early, well, we'll be cooking.
Is that day in the morning a possibility?
Yeah,
The 20, no,
I also want to make sure that we have a little bit of time in case you don't vote at the 25th. Or whatever that replacement meeting is, that we have time for another meeting in early April by April 8th. So
and this will be, the vote is voting on
Clark,
Clark.
Recommending Clark to the select board for that.
For their
What about
adoption.
Tuesday the 24th? Could more people do it? You're in Japan no matter what, right? You're in Japan for a long time, right? So
Yeah, we're getting back to the night of the 31st.
Tuesday, the 24th?
I'm also out of the country, but I'll try to, if it's after 5, I can.
Again, I mean, we're gonna be gone from the 22nd of March, we're leaving the 22nd, getting back to 31st.
I could do the 24th.
okay, so yes, on the 24th.
24th.
Well, Michael
So what time?
won't be able to be there because he has select
So
board,
he's
right?
like, oh, yeah.
It's a Tuesday.
Uh,
What about the 26th?
I'm not sure about that right now. But do we talk about doing it earlier? It didn't work for some reason?
On the 25th?
Either 25th or 26th or
Well,
something.
the whole rest of the day for the 25th, I'm currently open, sorry, earlier this morning.
Could we do 4 to 6 on the 25th?
I could do
2-5, 2-6,
2-5.
2 5.
46. I'm a maybe, but that's better. 25th is better than 26th.
And you could join us midway or something?
Would be. Yeah. I'd have to do a hard stop at 6, but that's all.
All right, let's tentatively say the 25th, 4 to 6. And can folks here hold that? I mean, I need to make sure that works with Nick.
This is still the 18th, right?
Yeah, so we're canceling the meeting on the 18th.
I'll probably have to leave a little bit early. 46 and then 20.
4 to 6 on the 25th. And then we don't currently have a meeting for the beginning of April because of the holidays of Passover and Easter. However, I would like to hold something in case we need it. I think it can be an hour meeting, and I think if we don't need it, then we don't need to meet. But I won't know that until we see what the outcome is of the 25th meeting. So can folks do either this, and this is going to be not our usual Wednesday cadence, but can folks do either April 6th or 7th?
7th would be better.
April 6th or 7th.
I cannot do the 6th.
I have a conservation commission meeting at 7, but I could probably go to that late or something.
Well, if we met at 5 for an hour,
Yeah.
On the 7th?
7th.
Tuesday the 7th.
Yeah, I can do that.
I have something at 6:30.
You said,
So what's the date?
4, 7, 5 o'clock?
so April 7th, 5 p.m.
And I will be.
Hmm?
I will be at that select board meeting.
Yes, yeah, but I'm hoping we don't need it, but I want to hold it in case we do.
Right, and I won't be voting.
Okay, so right now, just if folks here can hold March 25th from 4 to 6 p.m. And then
So let's start from today. We are meeting March 4th.
we're meeting March 4th.
Okay. And then nothing until, we are definitely not meeting the 18th, correct?
Correct.
And we're holding 25th, 4 to 6.
Yes. And then Tuesday, April 7th at 5 p.m.
And then we have one scheduled for the 15th, a week later.
You say 5 on Tuesday.
Yes. And the very organized Rebecca will send all of this.
And I have texted Nick with that change for the 25th.
We also have one for April 29th.
Yeah, so we pushed them back because of the holiday, so I don't think we need to meet 3 times in April. So if we end up meeting on the 7th, then I think we will probably say, do we need to meet on the 15th or the 29th? Then kind of pick one or the other.
Mhm.
If we don't meet on the 7th, then we'll continue to hold the regular meetings on the 15th and the 29th for our regular cadence.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you for being flexible. Sorry, the budget schedule is robust and I don't have much control over. I don't have any control. Okay, so now we are talking about the comprehensive plan, and we have a guest with us to talk about that. So Jake, I'll let you introduce yourself and talk about why you're here.
Great, and do you mind if I share my screen? Up
Oh
on
yeah,
the-
please go ahead. Are you
Okay.
on the?
I am joining now. Myself, speed up to the echo. So while I'm waiting, I see a few familiar faces, but for those of you who do not know me, my name is Jake Collins and I work in the planning department. I've been with the town for about 5 years now. The first 2 as a preservation planner and the last almost 3 as a community planner. And right now, the one project I'm really focusing the majority of my time on is the comprehensive plan. Okay. Fabulous. So some of you may have heard about the comprehensive planning process, but you may not know exactly what we've done. I'm not going to go through the slide line by line, it would take all night. But I will send it to Rebecca to put in the agenda packet after, and you can go through it in depth if you'd like. But for those of you who do not know what the comprehensive plan is, the plan aims to set a 15-year vision and roadmap for the future, develop policies that provide direction for town departments, provide a framework to guide future zoning changes. I always like to mention that one because people always wonder whether or not we're actually rezoning the comprehensive plan. We are not. That still requires a vote at town meeting, of course, but we're hoping to get a little bit closer and kind of building consensus before a warrant is or an article is proposed. And then importantly, act as a reference for the town for prioritizing future investment. So basically, it's meant to align all of us, make sure that we all understand what needs to be accomplished to reach our goals by 2024 or 2040 rather. We do anticipate that the plan will be completed in July of 2026, which we're really excited about. So this is actually the second time we are going out for engagement. That's primarily what I'm here to discuss with you today. The first time we went out, we actually received quite a bit of really helpful feedback. And one thing that the consultant team, which for any of you who are curious, is Agency Landscape and Planning out of Cambridge, said was they were really, really impressed by the level of detail that people got into when responding. It wasn't just check a box, it was check a box and here's why for almost every response. So we should be very proud of ourselves and the town for that. So from all this participation, we developed plan themes. As you'll see, plan theme 3 is climate action and resiliency. And this is a really interesting one because while it was on our radar, it was really Kathleen Scanlon who is a member of the comprehensive plan steering committee, kind of brought it to the forefront and said, you know, even though each section will kind of focus on climate action in its own way, we really do want to have these goals and these ideas in writing. So with that, that brings us to our current engagement phase, which is wrapping up shortly. But it's been very exciting. So this is our the last time we will go out to the public. So it's more important now than ever to make your voice heard. So you may be wondering why we're doing outreach now. We are getting ready to put pen to paper in these next few months, and the feedback we receive will help us inform plans, goals, recommendations, and strategies. The Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee is composed of a bunch of really, really intelligent people who are experts in their field. But we want to hear from those who have impacts. So you guys are pretty lucky to actually have Kathleen on and we are too, of course. Lucky to have Kathleen on the committee. Not every group has a representative. And I will sing Kathleen's praises until the end of the days. I will say that. And outreach now, of course, strengthens partnerships between the town and residents for our future initiatives. Once again, it's all about aligning expectations. So I apologize to those who either saw this presentation in a different board meeting or who went to the workshop, because you already completed this work. But we actually have 4 kind of distinct activities for this round of engagement. One is to comment on a draft vision statement. And what that is this is a vision kind of developed by the Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee. And we just want to make sure that it resonates with people. We're looking for feedback, what's missing, what may not be feasible. So we really just want to hear from all areas of the town. Share your priorities across plan themes. Those 6 chapters I showed you a few slides ago, those are our themes. We're just looking to say, okay, here's where public wants to invest money or resources, and here's how we make that happen, if it's possible. Third is provide your opinion on future housing and commercial growth. It's very simple. It sounds very complicated. We provide background information, and you just tell us whether or not you want to increase economic growth or maintain or decrease. And then 4 is indicate your preferred types and locations for residential development. And you maybe notice that there's the reason was we realized over the course of almost 18 months that housing was kind of the area with the least consensus around town. You know, some people really want to build up, some want to build out, some don't want to build at all. And so we want to hear from everyone. We want to collect these diversity of opinions and then synthesize them, see where there's an appetite for more development, where we need more open space, et cetera, et cetera. So that's why we focus really heavily on housing. So there are 2 ways to get involved. First, I'll start at the bottom, is taking an online survey. It contains all 4 of the activities I mentioned above. People have told me it takes around 40 minutes to complete it all, so it is a bit of a time investment, but it will yield really, really helpful data for us. The second one is to host a meeting in a box, which basically you convene your neighbors, a group of friends, a group with a specific interest. And you just talk them through the packet, work through it, have these really great discussions together. And one benefit of doing that is it allows you to provide really focused feedback that then we can take kind of at face value. It's really what gets the heart of your needs and shows us what your group, your neighborhood, your whatever would like to see in the town. So I know Kathleen is hosting, I believe, a group or 2 next week. I'm not sure if any of you are planning on attending, but it should be great. And so you may be wondering, we're reaching the end of the engagement period. If you can't contribute now, there is no need to worry. We will be coming back this spring to solicit feedback on draft plan recommendations and strategies that impact the work you do. You know, this plan, really doing pre-planning process, started looking at work that was being done that had already been done around town, including the CARP. And so that was kind of the basis. Then we're kind of layering it. And I think the last layer is really this public engagement. So once it goes through town departments, so my supervisor Kara Bruton and I will likely meet with Alexandra at some point during the process, and the steering committee, we will return to boards and commissions and ask you to comment on these recommendations, goals, and strategies, making sure they align with your priorities, making sure you think they're feasible and that they're the best use of our resources. And only after that will we bring it to the select board. So that concludes my presentation. I do have a few links here if you want to learn more about the comprehensive plan. We have a dedicated website. All of our meetings have been recorded and you can watch them back. So if one is of particular interest to you, feel free to log online and download that. And then of course the survey and the meeting in the box materials. And with that, I am done. I'm happy to accept any or answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Jake. I suspect many of us have already
I
either
think
been to one of the events or done the survey or both. So we're kind of familiar with what's going on. Any quick questions for Jake? For the effort, and I imagine you're available subsequently if you need to.
absolutely. Yes. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for your effort with all this.
Thanks, Jake.
Going to move on to other business, and I know we have one other business, but before we get to that, any other business? Okay, we have one other business. Patty has done a little bit of research and wants to bring to us the status of things at the state level.
Well, you raised the expectations up really high by saying research.
Deep research.
I just thought people might appreciate an update on what's going on with the House bill that the select board commented in November. You probably are all getting your own email alerts to call your legislators, et cetera. A new version of the bill that was released from House TEU committee in November has just been released. It's numbered 5151. And there's some good news and some bad news. The good news is that Section 94 has been deleted. That was the one that we were concerned about, that disqualified people from electrification related incentives if they already lived in a fossil fuel free community. So that's community. So that's gone. There's some other good things in it about some possible solar incentives, an expansion of the amount of municipal solar that can enjoy net metering. Some other good things. It also proposes essentially the decimation of mass saves with a 1,000 cut to be defunded in the remainder of the 3-year plan we're now in. So it is, the advocates who have looked at that say that this could cause irreparable harm to mass save. You get into layoffs, you get into industry disruptions. And it would be it could be extremely damaging to mass save. Last I heard, the bill is supposed to go to the full House floor tomorrow. And so there's a little window to call your legislature, which I did. It took 2 seconds. So that is the update. The Senate, of course, will have its go. And we'll see where we end up. I think that the advocates seem to be pretty happy with it, except for essentially the different. So other than that, it has some good provisions.
I did hear about one provision about automatic sign up.
Yes, automatic permitting? Is it?
No.
Oh,
No, automatic sign up for budget billing. Are you familiar with- Normally, when you budget billing, I heard this from Tommy, that there was an issue that, normally that's an opt-in program where, for example, for your gas bill, normally it's very high in the winter and low in the summer, but you can sign up for a program that smooths that out over the year based on your average use. Which apparently research says, and I haven't dug into this much, but, that lends itself to overall higher usage because it reduces the incentive to make things more efficient in the winter.
Yeah,
So
Means people look at their bill a little less perhaps.
people will look at their bill a little less, bill a little higher, and that's it turns out to be a significant windfall for the gas bill.
there is a section about the bill. And how it reads and what information consumers get, and I did not look at that. Section
might-
very closely.
you
I
might-
forwarded the
Yeah, no, I saw it.
the bill. Yeah, I can, you want me to tell you which, I can just point it out to you.
Okay, yeah, that would be.
Okay, yeah, I can do that. A bit. But you just remind me that there is language mandating that the state establish a platform for automatic permitting of residential solar under. So that's good. I mean, people are hearing the kinds of complaints and solutions and we're sort of moving and proposing to move the needle. So hopefully the good stuff that's in the bill will also be in the Senate bill. And we'll see what happens with Mass Save. So that's an update.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thanks for that. Yeah, keep it front of mind.
Yeah.
All right, hearing no other business, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second that.
I have a
I move
motion.
to adjourn.
Okay, there's the motion.
Make the motion.
Vikram seconds.
Seconds.
Those who are here, Vikram?
Aye.
Daddy?
Hi,
Aye. 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 I think we have it.
Great.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.